As the hazy curtain of human history parts, one of Earth's oldest fears rises from beneath the soil. This secret, lying under a silent hill in the rural lands of Şanlıurfa, was not merely an archaeological discovery, but perhaps a warning humanity forgot, yet the Earth never did. Gobeklitepe. In 1995, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt's hands reshaped the Earth, but that Earth had buried not only stones, but also fear. Gobeklitepe dates back 12,000 years. It was built long before the pyramids of Egypt, Stonehenge, or even the invention of writing. But the real mystery wasn't so much when it was built, as why it was built, and most importantly, why it was buried. At the center of the structure stood enormous T-shaped stone pillars, some over 6 meters tall and weighing tons. Etched upon them were various animal carvings: scorpions, snakes, foxes, birds of prey. Yet there was no randomness. Each figure was arranged as if part of a narrative. This structure was the product of a hunter-gatherer society. There was no agriculture, metal, or writing, but there was one thing: a fear, and the shape of this fear was carved into stone. Sumerian mythology speaks of gods coming from the sky. Some believe these gods came to impart knowledge to humans, but in some narratives, people feared the gods because they were capricious and sometimes punished. Gobeklitepe's pillars were arranged facing each other, as if two giant figures stood in the middle of a ritual, with other pillars observing around them. This wasn't just a theater. Perhaps it was a court or an act of confinement. The plan of the structure was striking: circular enclosures with central pillars. This architecture, according to some researchers, was not only symbolic, but also astronomical. The orientation of the pillars aligned with stars, with some suggesting it pointed to the Sirius star, indicating a connection to a being from the sky. In another detail, some carvings showed hands pointed towards the belly, given a human form but no face, an identityless entity observing, yet unknown. In Islamic culture, jinn were invisible beings, said to be created from fire and hidden from human sight, and certain places became their dwelling: ruins, desolate structures, old stone temples. In Anatolian folk tales, there are stories of structures where jinn were sealed, and some believe prayers were even carved into these structures saying, "May it never be opened again." But Gobeklitepe, perhaps this structure held not jinn, but an even older fear, something that preceded humanity. In Central Asian shamanic tradition, the spirit world was divided into three: the sky for the highest spirits, the earth for humans, and the underworld for dark entities. Gobeklitepe's layout perfectly aligned with this trinity. Some stone figures had no feet, as if buried in the earth, belonging to the underworld. This made the structure a kind of gate, a threshold separating two worlds. But this threshold might have been built not just for passage, but to seal it off. Throughout history, humans have materialized their fears: dragons, demons, fairies, all reflections. So what about the symbols at Gobeklitepe? Perhaps these animal figures didn't represent real creatures, but symbolized humanity's internal fears. The snake symbolized betrayal, the scorpion death, and the bird the soul. And this temple was actually a spiritual seal, a stone-carved remedy for a collectively processed trauma. But now, excavations continue. New enclosures are being found, old symbols unearthed once more. What if that structure wasn't just hidden by being buried, but perhaps sealed off? Throughout history, humans have often regretted opening certain places. Gobeklitepe might be the oldest and most dangerous of these. 12,000 years ago, someone built this structure and then deliberately buried it. Today, we're opening that structure again. Perhaps unknowingly, we are awakening a forgotten fear. Gobeklitepe might not just be a temple, but a warning forgotten by human memory. But the question still remains: what have we unleashed? What lies behind this door to humanity's dark past? The silence among the stones carries secrets hidden for years. Who knows? Perhaps these secrets make humanity confront its deepest fears about its own existence. Because every grand structure humans have built throughout history is not just a pile of stones, but also a reflection of the collective subconscious. So was the decision to bury this temple merely an abandonment, or was it intended to protect a larger, darker secret? It is at this point that the most perplexing and chilling possibilities, where theories converge, begin to emerge. Many researchers suggest that Gobeklitepe wasn't just a place of worship, but rather built to seal a gate between our world and another. The footless stone figures mentioned in the text and the emphasis on the structure belonging to the underworld support this theory. According to this theory, ancient humans might have come into contact with ancient entities dangerous to humanity residing under or around Gobeklitepe. These entities could be defined as underworld spirits from Central Asian shamanic tradition or old gods from various mythologies. A deep fear of them and the desire to control this fear might have led to the need to gather massive stones and eventually seal this gate forever. The meticulous burial of the temple afterward was part of this sealing process. They had trapped something inside. We are now letting it out. Gobeklitepe's astronomical alignments, especially its association with the Sirius star, lead some to an even more radical theory: the ones from the sky. According to this approach, also known as the ancient astronaut theory, the T-shaped pillars might actually represent beings from the sky or from the stars. If these beings were not benevolent knowledge givers, but rather capricious and punishing gods like those in Sumerian mythology, humanity might have built the structure out of fear of them. The temple might have been a warning message, a preparation for future cosmic calamities, or a ritualistic defense built to prevent these beings from returning to Earth. And Gobeklitepe was once the last trace of this cosmic power on Earth. The most human-centric theory suggests that Gobeklitepe was actually a monument to a great catastrophe or a collective trauma. Perhaps this hunter-gatherer community faced a devastating natural event, a great flood, climate change, or an inhuman threat that affected the planet, and they carved these experiences into stone as a warning for future generations. Symbols like the snake, scorpion, and bird of prey were reflections of the horrifying events and losses experienced during that era. The burial of the temple might not have been just about hiding something, but also an attempt to push those terrifying fears and the experienced horror into the subconscious to cover them up. Just like repressed fears deep within the human soul, Gobeklitepe was an ancient nightmare buried beneath the earth. Now the question remains the same, but even chilling. As we reopen the gates of this ancient temple, what dark secrets or forgotten fears have we brought back to the surface? The stones of Gobeklitepe remain silent for thousands of years, but now a call echoes within that silence. And perhaps this call is the most crucial step that will determine the fate of humanity.